was, I think, in '81. It was just two of us jumped out of Winthrop, Washington. We went up there. The base, it's a small base, but it was jumped out. And this was in August, I think, of '81. And the two of us went on this fire, very windy. Managed to get in there. My jump partner thought he broke his ankles when he landed. It was we were both coming in backwards pretty good. Jumping the old T10. Now that the chute's now a little more maneuverable. And then the BLM has the square chutes, which would have been great up there in that wind. We got to this tree, was really healthy looking tree, and it had a line down it and had a fire on the bottom where it got hit by lightning. And we couldn't tell. It looked like there was some smoke up there and some smoldering going on, but we thought, well, maybe it's out. Maybe it looks like it just went down. I don't see any smoke billowing out or anything. But you couldn't be sure. You know, we had lined the bottom. It was a very small little area. We thought, well, gee, what are we going to do? You know, if we just think it's out and we leave, you know, what if it starts back up? You know, so we couldn't allow that to happen. So we ended up making the decision to cut it down. We had a cross cut, and we were cutting it down, and the pitch came out of that thing like it was shot out of a cannon. I'd never seen that before in a tree. It just didn't ooze out. It just came squirting out. And we were both trying to, you know, there's a certain rhythm you get, and you don't want to work against each other. And it was kind of funny. It was a tough tree to get down. And as we were going back and forth, each of us were kind of looking around at each other like, why are you holding on to that thing? You're supposed to be. And we were kind of blaming the other guy for why it was so hard. But once we got through it and that pitch just came out, it was really something else. And we ended. It was a good sized tree. It was probably a good 150 feet tall. It was a pretty good sized tree. And it came down, and we checked it, and it wasn't on fire. I still feel bad about that. It's kind of interesting. We both felt bad that we killed the tree when we didn't have to, but we didn't have climbers, and it was probably a good 50 feet up to the limbs. And the plane had long since gone, and it had a whole bunch of fires. They were dropping two people on these little fires, and we just felt bad about it. We had to drop a tree down when it was a healthy tree, but sometimes you just can't take that risk. You don't know. And the last thing you want in charge of a fire is to have them call and say there's a reburn. It started up again. That's a lot of egg in your face, but it's not very professional, and it looks bad. So the last thing you want to do is that. So we erred on that side, and I'm not dragging it around with me. It's not a big thing on the back. But I do feel bad in a sense because it was a healthy tree. You don't want to do that. I mean, I think the more you work outdoors, the more respect you have for nature, and the more you don't want to, just randomly go through and like leave stuff laying around and litter and just cut stuff you don't need to cut. I think. So that's certainly one with a crosscut. Crosscut. It's easier to carry out with a pack. You can just bend it over, and it's lighter than a chainsaw. But of course, you can't really do much with brush. It's basically just for this one snag kind of a tree. So we didn't get the cross cuts as much, because more times than not, you needed a chainsaw. And of course, you got to lug that stuff out too. That's probably the most memorable one I had, I think, with a cross cut. And the chainsaws ones kind of all blend together, really, as far as like what you. I've cut down some big trees for hellispots and things like that. But nothing really stands out that was, dangerous in the sense that I felt like something bad was going to happen. More so with crosscuts, taking down a big dead snag where things might be falling down on your head, and we had to build. It was very steep, so we had to build probably out of bark and boughs of trees and other limbs that we got. We made almost like a bulwark that was probably about 12 feet high, just so we could have an even ground for two of us to cut this thing down. It was a pretty old dead tree. It was probably a few hundred years old. It's just a big guy. So that was memorable too, something like that, because you had to, before you could even start to cut the tree, you had to spend a couple of hours trying to build a platform in which to stand on. and then constantly, be looking up for stuff and fall on your head. So that was interesting.